The wedding saboteur. I should have known something was wrong when Amber didn't answer my calls that morning, 7 days before my wedding, and my maid of honor, my best friend since 6th grade, was suddenly MIA. Maybe she overslept, my mom suggested, refilling her coffee cup. You know how she is. I did know. Amber was notoriously unreliable, but never when it mattered. And today mattered. We had a final dress fitting scheduled, followed by lunch with my future mother-in-law. I'm going to swing by her apartment, I said, grabbing my keys. Mom gave me that look, the one that said you're doing too much again. Let Ryan check on her. You've got enough to worry about. Ryan, my fiancé. The thought of him made me smile despite my annoyance at Amber. In 7 days, we'd be married. After 3 years of dating and a whirlwind engagement, it still felt surreal. Ryan's at that client breakfast, I said. I'll be quick. The first red flag should have been the doorman's knowing look when I mentioned I was there to see Amber. Oh, Ms. Hayes, he said, checking his log. She left about 20 minutes ago. With a gentleman. My stomach twisted. Tall guy? Dark hair. He nodded. He's been here several times this week. I thanked him and walked back to my car, a strange feeling settling over me. Amber hadn't mentioned dating anyone new, and she knew how important today was. My phone buzzed with a text from her. So sorry. Emergency at work. Can we reschedule fitting for tomorrow? Love you. I stared at the message. Amber didn't work on Saturdays, and she just left her apartment with some mystery man. Something wasn't adding up. The next red flag came at dinner that night. Ryan was distracted, constantly checking his phone under the table. Everything okay? I asked, pushing my pasta around my plate. Yeah, just work stuff. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. How was the fitting? Cancelled. Amber bailed. I watched his face carefully. She said she had a work emergency. Was it my imagination, or did he flinch slightly? That's weird, he said, taking a long sip of wine. But you know Amber, always a mess. That was the thing. Everyone thought they knew Amber. Beautiful, chaotic, life of the party Amber. But I knew the real her, organized when it mattered, fiercely loyal, and incapable of lying to me. Or so I thought. Sunday morning, I woke to find Ryan already gone. Early golf with Dad. Read his note on the pillow. Odd. Since his father was in Phoenix for a conference, I'd heard them discussing it just yesterday. I called my mom. Something feels off. Pre-wedding jitters, she said confidently. Happens to everyone. Maybe she was right. Maybe I was paranoid. But when Amber texted that she couldn't make our rescheduled fitting because she was feeling under the weather, alarm bells went off. I drove to her apartment again, this time bringing soup and crackers. What kind of maid of honor gets sick the week before the wedding? The kind who's hiding something, that's who. The doorman wasn't at his post when I arrived, so I used the key Amber had given me years ago. The elevator ride to the 12th floor felt eternal. Outside her door, I heard laughter. Male laughter, followed by Amber's distinctive giggle. Not the sounds of someone suffering from a cold. I knocked sharply. The laughter stopped abruptly. Footsteps approached, then retreated. More whispers. Finally, the door opened a crack, and Amber's face appeared, flushed and guilty. What are you doing here? Bringing soup for my sick maid of honor, I said, holding up the bag. Can I come in? Her eyes widened. Now's not really a good time. Who is it? A male voice called from inside. My blood ran cold. I knew that voice. No one. Amber called back, panic flashing across her face. To me, she whispered. Please, let me explain later. I pushed past her into the apartment. There, standing in her kitchen wearing nothing but boxers and an expression of horror, was Ryan. My fiancé. Emma, he said, like my name was a curse. This isn't what it looks like. But it was exactly what it looked like. The next 24 hours passed in a blur. Screaming, crying, Ryan chasing me down the hallway in his underwear, begging me to listen, Amber collapsing in tears, saying it just happened, and they never meant to hurt me. I fled to my parents' house, ignoring the barrage of calls and texts from both of them. My mother held me while I sobbed. My father paced the living room, threatening to have a word with Ryan. I felt like I was drowning. By Monday morning, the story had spread to our entire social circle. My phone exploded with messages of sympathy and outrage. OMG, I always thought she was shady. Jess, what a slime ball. You deserve better. Marcus, do you need a hitman? I know a guy. JK, but only kinda. Katie. Then came an email from Ryan. Subject line, please read this. I nearly deleted it, but curiosity won out. Emma, what you saw was inexcusable, but not what you think. I've been trying to plan a surprise for you with Amber's help. I know this sounds like the lamest excuse ever, but please meet me at Rosario's tonight at 7. I can explain everything. I love you more than anything. Ryan. Rosario's. Our first date spot. The audacity. You're not actually going, are you? My mother asked, horrified. When I told her about the email, I was already pulling on my jacket. I need to hear whatever pathetic explanation he's cooked up. What I didn't say. I needed to look him in the eye one more time before I erased him from my life. At least let your father drive you, she pleaded. But this was something I had to do alone. Rosario's was quiet for a Monday night. Ryan sat at our usual corner table, head in his hands. He looked terrible, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes. Good. He jumped up when he saw me. Emma, thank you for coming. You have 5 minutes, I said, remaining standing. And this better be spectacular. He motioned for me to sit. I didn't. Amber was helping me plan a surprise honeymoon. He blurted out. That's why we've been meeting secretly. I laughed bitterly. In your underwear? No. Sunday was... God, Emma, there's no excuse for Sunday. It was a horrible mistake. We'd been drinking, working on the honeymoon details, and one thing led to another. His voice cracked. It was the first and only time, I swear. The waiter approached with a bottle of champagne. Ryan waved him away. So you expect me to believe you've been sneaking around with my best friend for weeks, planning a surprise, and just happened to sleep with her once? 6 days before our wedding. He looked down. I know how it sounds. It sounds like bullshit, Ryan. Check my email, he said desperately. There are weeks of correspondence with travel agents, with Amber copied. Ask your parents. I discussed the surprise with them last month. My stomach dropped. My parents knew. The honeymoon was real, he continued. Paris, just like you always wanted. What happened Sunday, it was a terrible mistake. We both instantly regretted it. And that's supposed to make me feel better? I grabbed my purse. Goodbye, Ryan. Emma, please. But I was already walking away, tears streaming down my face. Back at my parents' house, I confronted them. Did you know Ryan was planning a surprise honeymoon with Amber's help? They exchanged glances. He mentioned something about Paris. My dad admitted, said he wanted to surprise you. And you didn't think it was strange he was working with Amber instead of you. My mom sighed. He said he needed a woman's perspective, and you two were so close. I checked Ryan's email. Sure enough, there were dozens of messages between him and various travel agents, with Amber copied on every one. They'd been planning a 2-week trip through France, hitting all the locations I'd circled in that travel magazine last year. It didn't excuse what they'd done, but it complicated things. My phone rang. Amber, don't answer it. My mom advised. I answered it. Em, please don't hang up. Amber sobbed. You have every right to hate me, but there's something you need to know. I think I know enough, I said coldly. It's about the wedding. I did something terrible. My heart raced. Worse than sleeping with my fiancé. I've been sabotaging your wedding plans, she whispered, For weeks now. 40 minutes later, I sat across from Amber at an all-night diner, watching her mascara streak down her face as she confessed everything. She'd been secretly canceling vendors, changing orders, losing deposits, all while pretending to be the perfect maid of honor. But why? I demanded, clutching my coffee mug so tightly my knuckles turned white. I've been in love with Ryan for months, she admitted, unable to meet my eyes. I thought if I could delay the wedding, maybe he'd realize he had feelings for me too. And did he? She shook her head miserably. He loves you, Em. Sunday really was a mistake. We were both drunk, talking about how perfect you are, and somehow it just happened. She wiped her eyes. I initiated it. And the moment it was over, he was devastated. I stared at her, this stranger wearing my best friend's face. So you ruined my wedding because you were jealous? I know it's unforgivable, she whispered. But I've fixed everything. I spent all day calling vendors, explaining my mistakes. The cake, the flowers, the DJ, it's all back on track. She pulled out a check. And this is for the deposits that couldn't be recovered. The check was for $3,500. Nearly all of her savings, I knew. Why are you telling me this now? Because you deserve the truth. And because despite what I did, I want you to be happy. She hesitated. Ryan would never hurt you intentionally, Em. He made a terrible mistake. We both did, but he adores you. I stood up, dropping cash on the table for my untouched coffee. I need time to process all this. I understand, she said quietly. Just know I'll do whatever it takes to make this right, even if that means stepping down as maid of honor. You think? I laughed bitterly. Goodbye, Amber. 3 days before my wedding, my now questionable wedding, I holed up in my childhood bedroom, ignoring everyone's attempts to talk sense into me. My dress hung in the closet, mocking me. The RSVPs from 175 guests sat in a neat stack on my desk. The non-refundable deposits. The honeymoon Ryan had planned. What was the right thing to do? Forgive the 2 people who had betrayed me most deeply? Cancel everything and lose thousands of dollars? Go through with the wedding to save face? I pulled out my phone and did something I'd been avoiding. I called my grandmother. Grandma Rose didn't sugarcoat things. At 92, she'd earned that right. So your fiancé slept with your maid of honor, she summarized after I spilled the whole sordid tale. And now you don't know whether to marry him on Saturday. That about covers it, I said, picking at a loose thread on my comforter. Do you still love him? The question hit me like a punch to the gut. I don't know. A week ago, I would have said absolutely. Now, love isn't the issue here, she said firmly. Trust is. Can you trust either of them again? I thought about Ryan's devastated face at Rosario's, about Amber's tearful confession, about their weeks of deception, regardless of the reason. I don't think so, I admitted. Then you have your answer. She paused. But Emma, remember this. People make terrible mistakes. Forgiving them doesn't mean you have to keep them in your life. 2 days before the wedding, I texted Ryan. Meet me at the park. 2 p.m. He was already there when I arrived, sitting on our bench, looking as lost as I felt. Hi, he said softly when I sat down beside him. Amber told me everything, I said, about sabotaging the wedding, about her feelings for you. He nodded. She called me after she saw you. Emma, I swear I had no idea she felt that way, and I never encouraged it. But you still slept with her. Yes. His voice broke. The biggest mistake of my life. We sat in silence, watching children play on the swings. A family walked by, the parents holding hands while their toddler raced ahead. That could have been us in a few years. I've been thinking about trust, I finally said, about whether I could ever look at you again without seeing you with her. He flinched but said nothing. The thing is, Ryan, I could probably forgive one drunken mistake. People mess up, but the secretiveness, the weeks of you two planning things behind my back, even if it was for a surprise. I shook my head. That created the environment where this could happen. I know, he whispered. I've been thinking the same thing. I should have been more transparent. I should have seen how inappropriate it was becoming. Another silence fell between us. So what happens now? He finally asked. I took a deep breath. I think we need to cancel the wedding. He closed his eyes. Pain etched across his face, but nodded. I understand. But I continued, surprising myself. I'm not saying it's over forever. I'm saying I need time. To think. To heal. Hope flickered in his eyes. I'll wait. As long as it takes. I can't promise anything, I warned. And I need you to understand that Amber can't be part of my life anymore. Of course. I don't want to see her either. He hesitated, then asked the question I'd been dreading. What do we tell everyone? One day before what would have been my wedding, my parents' living room became command central for Operation Cancel. Friends arrived in shifts to help call guests, vendors, the venue. We decided on a simple explanation. Due to unforeseen circumstances, the wedding was postponed indefinitely. No dramatic details, no public blame. Ryan handled his side of the list with quiet dignity. My mother fielded questions from nosy relatives with remarkable restraint. My father dealt with deposits and contracts. And me, I sat in the middle of it all, feeling strangely empowered. For the first time in months, I was making decisions based solely on what I needed. Not what would make for a perfect wedding, not what would please our families, not what was expected. It was liberating. Then my phone buzzed with a text from Amber. Can I stop by? Just for a minute. Please. Against my better judgment, I replied. Fine. But make it quick. She arrived looking terrible. Pale, puffy-eyed, shoulders slumped with guilt. She carried a large shopping bag. I heard about the cancellation, she said, hovering in the doorway. I'm so sorry, Em. Was there something specific you wanted? I asked coolly. She nodded and held out the bag. You're something borrowed. And you're something blue. I've had them for months. Inside was a vintage sapphire necklace that had belonged to her grandmother, along with a hand-embroidered handkerchief with my new initials, or what would have been my new initials. I know it doesn't matter now, she said hurriedly. But I wanted you to know that despite what happened, I really did care about making your day special. While actively sabotaging it, I reminded her. She flinched. I'll never forgive myself for that. Or for what happened with Ryan. She turned to leave, then stopped. You know what the worst part is? I've lost the two people I care about most in the world, and it's entirely my fault. As she walked away, shoulders shaking with silent sobs, I felt an unexpected pang of, not forgiveness, exactly, but recognition of her pain. Amber. I called after her. She turned, hope written all over her face. Thank you for telling me the truth. Eventually, it wasn't forgiveness, but it was something. The morning of my non-wedding dawned clear and perfect. Exactly the May day I dreamed of when we booked the venue a year ago. I should have been getting my hair done, sipping champagne with my bridesmaids, feeling butterflies of excitement. Instead, I was alone in my childhood bed, scrolling through sympathetic messages and ignoring calls from well-meaning friends. At precisely 11 a.m., when the ceremony would have started, my bedroom door opened, and my parents appeared, dressed in their wedding finery. What are you doing? I asked, bewildered. My father, solemn in his tux, offered me his arm. We thought you might like to take a drive. Confused but curious, I let them lead me to the car. My mother handed me a small bouquet of daisies, my favorites, not the expensive roses I'd chosen for the wedding. Where are we going? I asked as we drove through town. They exchanged secretive smiles but said nothing. 20 minutes later, we pulled up to a small gazebo in a public park, the same park where Ryan had proposed. My breath caught in my throat when I saw it decorated with simple white ribbons and wildflowers. And there, waiting by the steps, was Ryan. What is this? I whispered. My mother squeezed my hand. Just listen to what he has to say. Then decide. Heart pounding, I approached the gazebo. Ryan looked nervous but determined. Before you say anything, he began. This isn't a trick to make you go through with the wedding. I respect your decision to cancel. Then what? I wanted to give you the moment you deserved. The moment I ruined. He gestured around. No audience. No pressure. Just us. From his pocket, he withdrew a folded paper. These are the vows I wrote for today. Not the ones my mother suggested. Not the traditional ones the officiant recommended. The real ones from my heart. He hesitated. I'd like to read them to you if that's okay. Not as binding promises, just so you know what I would have said. Speechless, I nodded. Emma, he began, voice trembling slightly. I stand here today not as a perfect man, but as a man who perfectly loves you. His words washed over me, honest, raw, beautiful. Words about forgiveness and growth, about the reality of marriage versus the fantasy of weddings, about how love means choosing each other every day, especially when it's hard. When he finished, there wasn't a dry eye between us. That was what I wanted to promise you, he said quietly, folding the paper. And I still mean every word, whether we're married or not. I wiped my eyes. I don't know what to say. You don't need to say anything. Just know that whenever, if ever, you're ready, these vows will be waiting. He stepped back. No pressure. No timeline. As he turned to leave, something shifted inside me. Not forgiveness, exactly, but possibility. Ryan, I called. He turned back, hope and fear battling on his face. I'm not ready to marry you today, I said carefully. I might not be ready for a long time, but I took a deep breath. Maybe we could get coffee next week, talk about where we go from here. The smile that broke across his face was like sunrise after the longest night. I'd like that, he said simply. As he walked away, I felt a strange sense of peace settle over me. The wedding I'd planned was gone. The future I'd imagined had evaporated. My best friend had betrayed me. My fiancé had hurt me deeply. And yet, somehow, I felt stronger than I had in months. Because for the first time in my adult life, I was choosing myself, my healing, my timeline, my terms. I didn't know if Ryan and I would find our way back to each other. I didn't know if Amber and I would ever repair our friendship. But I knew that whatever happened next would be because I chose it, not because it was expected or planned. Sometimes, it takes the collapse of everything you thought you wanted to reveal what you truly need. My mother approached cautiously. Are you okay, honey? I looked around at the simple gazebo, so different from the elaborate venue we'd booked, at my parents, who had supported my decision without question, at the path where Ryan had disappeared, carrying his heartfelt vows, and the possibility of a different kind of future. No, I said honestly, but I think I will be. And for the first time in a week, I actually believed it. The end. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more incredible content.